Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Today I want to cover three things that are going to help you during the course of your interview. First of all, don't be intimidated by the question, control the narrative, and be prepared for the follow-up questions. Now, it's really easy to say don't be intimidated by the question because we've evolved from the typical questions of what are your greatest strengths and tell me about your greatest weaknesses, and then you turn your weaknesses into strengths. And fortunately, we've gone away from those kind of questions, and we still ask them, and they're kind of infused in a lot of other questions, but a lot of our questions now are designed to throw you off, okay? So when I say, tell me about a time when you did something wrong, or you acted inappropriate, or you regret something, those are not questions that are made to make you feel good. Guess what? They have a negative story. Otherwise, I wouldn't be asking you the question. Everyone has made mistakes. Everyone has had to answer questions that we're not exactly excited about. But you need to be comfortable answering those questions, and you need to be prepared for the follow-up questions, but you control the narrative, okay? You are the one that's telling me the time when you said something you later regretted or that you were unfairly criticized. You need to have answers for those types of questions where, when the follow-up questions come, you're prepared for them. So how do you do that? You control the narrative. Okay, because the narrative is your story. You are giving the setting. Me asking you a question about something you did wrong, I'm presuming you did something wrong. You have to answer the question telling me about some time you did something wrong. Otherwise, you're perfect, and there's no such thing as perfect people. Therefore, you're not being genuine and authentic, and you're not going to move forward in the interview process most likely because I don't know who you are. But if you tell me a real honest story about a time you did something that you regretted and you made a big mistake and you moved on and this is how you learn from it and your actions and the results as we've talked about in the past, then I'm going to think you're being genuine and authentic. But here's the thing. You probably have a whole bunch of stories if you really sat and reflected on it about which one is probably the best one to answer in that scenario. And what I mean by that, I mean the best story is the one that isn't probably the most severe, because our mind always goes to the most severe situation, and then we might just start talking because we don't have anything else that we can remember it or recall at the time. And then when you get the inevitable follow-up questions, and this is what you have to prepare for, you're not going to be prepared to answer those questions, okay? Because here's the truth. For HR professionals out there, if we are just asking questions off a script and then not following up with questions, we are making a whole lot of assumptions and judgment based on assumptions. And what I mean by that is that when you're interviewing somebody, you're going to ask them a question, they're going to give you the answer, but there's so many context questions that you need to know the answer to in order to be sure that the decision you're making is grounded on fact or just grounded on opinion. And interviews, far too often, we're just asking a whole bunch of questions, hoping that we can figure out the right answer or we can justify why we like the person or why we don't like the person. But the truth is that we need to take our time, we need to build relationships, and we need to talk to the individual so that when we're assessing their talent and their ability and we're talking to them, we know the backstory. I can't tell you how many recruiters I've worked with where they've told me, I don't like so-and-so and here's why. And then I would ask three simple, what I would think were simple follow-up questions because I want to understand how they drew that conclusion, and they wouldn't know the answers to those questions. So, with that, HR tip of the day, ask follow-up questions. Make sure you're not drawing conclusions based on assumptions, but you're drawing conclusions based on facts. Candidates, be prepared for the follow-up question because here's the truth. The follow-up questions are often the only questions that matter. When you're interviewing and you get a question that's difficult to answer, because guess what, they're supposed to be, and it's about something you aren't proud of or something in the past or the toughest decision you've ever had to make or a time you went above and beyond in your job, and you share that example, if there is no follow-up questions, chances are the person you're interviewing with might just be reading off a script and doesn't really care. If there are follow-up questions though, they're engaging with you, they're listening to you, they're taking notes, and they're trying to figure something out. Follow-up questions typically don't happen just because. They happen because we are trying to figure out the motivations behind the actions you did, or the results of your actions, or how long it took you to make your decisions and things like that. So with that, remember, don't be intimidated by the question. Control the narrative. Make sure you know which story you're going to be talking about, which means you have to have a whole bunch of stories. lined up, ready to go for interviewing. And finally, be prepared for the follow-up questions, because the follow-up questions are often the interview questions that actually matter. And we distract you over here with the main question, and then you never see the follow-up question coming, but you have set the tone for the follow-up question, and you've led us down the path for the follow-up questions. As always, if you need some tips, tricks, let me know. Feel free to reach out to me. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and every Wednesday, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, I'll be doing a live Q&A and show on LinkedIn, and every Thursday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time, I'll be doing a live show and Q&A on Facebook. So with that, reach out to me, share this post so I can help show you how to get the job. Take care.